Hello, everyone. Today we are looking at two different ships. Really, it's the same ship. First one is the Imperial Customs Frigate, and the second is the Light Privateer Frigate. Um, Looking at the characteristics of this ship, the Imperial Customs Frigate was manufactured by Randall Star Drive. The builders of the larger light corvette also used by the customs office, though it was slower, smaller, and less durable than the light corvette or the Guardian class light cruiser from Senior Fleet Systems. It required a smaller crew, and its six heavy laser cannons had significantly greater firepower at shorter range. For its role, like other vessels used by the Imperial Customs, it was able to do battle with most smugglers like freighters, the forces of small time pirates, or even rebel starfighters. Of course, it was completely outclassed by capital starships, which generally required the intervention of the Imperial Navy. So, this ship and the stats that come with it of the Imperial Customs frigate first appeared in the Star Wars role playing game. Later, the stats were given to the Guardian class light cruiser, and the frigate got some new ones. So, this is where we are today. So, let's see. When we look at this, it is a very sleek design as far as me looking at it. Really, looking online, I don't have much more than just this picture of it. Somebody else did come up with like a 3D rendering that they printed off, and I'll try and get it up on the screen here as well, if not already on there. Um, so we don't get a lot out of this outside of just this, although we do have a floor plan, so it is like a single floor plan, and I'll show you that here shortly. Um, So, of course, the Imperial Custom Frigate is for the Empire, and it comes from our Pirates and Privateers booklet. So, this is Starfighter scale. This has a length of 35 meters. Now, we have a crew of six with six gunners, and it can be operated with a minimum crew of three. Passengers, you can debate this whether it's more prisoners or if it's going to be more troops. However you want to look at it, it does have a passenger complement of 10. Has a cargo capacity of 100 metric tons. Consumables, it's good for about 3 months, and it costs whatever is available on the black market, whatever they want to sell it for, because these are kind of pirated off or sold off or whatever. There's a wide range of what these could be worth. It has a hyperdrive multiplier of times 2, a backup hyperdrive of times 8. So for a backup, this is really a faster backup. Normally we start seeing like a 12 to a 15 to an 18 or something like that. So times 8 is actually pretty good. Your nav computer is also available on bigger ships like this. For purposes like this, they're not going to rely on a droid. Although I'm sure that if you really needed to, um, because in the Star Wars era, galaxy, whatever, um, you know, there's going to be plenty of slots that if you had a droid that had special coordinates, you could easily have the droid plug in and get it into the ship. Maneuverability is 2D, so this is pretty on par with our standard ships. So being able to maneuver around different fighter craft and that should not be a big issue here. Although this is a little bit slower, it is definitely not going to be on par with a lot of our starfighters. It has a space of 5, so this is moving a little slower than our standard fighters. It has an atmosphere of 850 kilometers an hour, so it's not the fastest ship in an atmosphere as well. We have a hull of 3D plus 1 and his shields of 3D. So this ship really is meant to take a little bit of abuse. It is more of a police slash military vessel. Passively, or for our sensors, passively we can scan about 3 kilometers out. We can do an active scan at 6 kilometers, a search at 9 kilometers, and a focus of 400 meters. So it was noted before we have 6 heavy laser cannons. These are on turrets. We need one crew member in each one. We have a fire control of 2D, so it's our standard fire control computer system, and it has a damage of 5. So this is our Imperial version of it, and then when we get to our light privateer, it changes a little bit here. So again, it's still at a starfighter scale. This is a converted ship. This is at 40 meters long, compared to being 35 meters long. So um, still has a crew of 6 with 6 gunners. Passengers are down to 6 because we're taking up some of the room by some of the extra mechanical components to try and modify the ship. Consumables is down to 2 months. I believe we were at 3 months before. Yes, we were at 3 months before. Okay, uh, so we're at 100 metric tons of cargo capacity. We have a cost of 1 million credits used. Hyperdrive is still at 2. Backup is at 15. So they slowed this down for our backup. Of course, we still have our nav computer. Maneuverability is at 2D. And our space is now up to 8. So now this is actually really competing with starfighters. We are going at most starfighter speed scale. Our atmosphere is at 1,050 kilometers an hour. We still have the nice resilient hull at 3D plus 1 and a shields at 3D. Our sensor packet, we have a passive scan. I believe this is the same as what we had before, so we can passively scan out to 3 kilometers, actively scan to 6 kilometers, search at 9 kilometers, and focus at 400 meters. We did knock down our weapons a little bit. We have 4 heavy laser cannons. We have 2 in the front, 2 in the right, or 2 in the front, 1 on the right, and 1 on the left. Okay. So this really is more of the model I believe that we really see here, because we can look and we can see that there are on the side here. For our 6, they just list them as being on turrets. So I'm going to guess that they're going to be along the spine here, but not exactly certain as to where. And they could be on top and on bottom as well. So we want to keep that in mind here. And this the layout here really that we're looking at is going to be of the privateer, not of the Imperial. So things will be changed just a little bit here. Okay, we are looking at the same heavy laser cannons doing 5D damage with our base fire control computer at 2D. It also has an ion cannon to try and help capture. Um, and I think I must have missed something here because I have 3D for our fire control and looking at it, dun, 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 ion cannon. Actually, it doesn't even say because I copied everything straight from the book, so that way. Oh, okay. We do have a damage of 3D, and then it also has a tractor beam emplacement, which is in the front, has a fire control of 2D, and has a damage of 3D. So that is something I kind of missed here, just past our internal diagram here of the ship. Okay, so when we look at the ship, we do have room for 4 people on the bridge. We have a communications room, a sensor room. So these are going to be separated. I think on the Imperial, I would say this is probably going to be all one big area here. I don't know why you would want to separate all these people, because if you're trying to actively stay together and work as a team, I would imagine in my little pea-sized brain here that I would really like to have them all together being commanded by one person, or at least being led by the same person. You know, obviously you're not going to have one person doing all of this, but if you can have one person giving all commands very easily so everyone can hear them, I think it would be much better if they were all in one area. Okay, so underneath here we do have a ventral airlock. Um, we got an auto chef. Turbo laser control is sitting here somewhere. I don't know where, how, why. We have a lounge sitting here, which is kind of nice. I think our turbo laser control is probably on this. We have some lockers, hygiene closet here, or bathroom. Um, so we have our bunks. So we have our captain's bunk, our executive officer's bunk. We have double bunks here, quad bunks in the back. So I'm going to say that this is probably for troops to try and help get in there. And you might have an extra pilot or so in there, or someone that's a rudimentary pilot. And then we also have some prisoner bunks in here. So it says 5 prison bunks. So that's when they're seeing passengers, it almost seems like our quad bunks are different from our passenger or our prisoners. So I'm guessing we're hauling passengers around, but we're not really taking care of them all that well. But there again, if they're pirates and they're devious people, you know, that's all up for debate as to how well you take care of them. You should take care of them to some degree, but exactly how well they're being taken care of, that's always another debate. So that's what we have here today. It's an interesting ship. The fact that this was another ship designed and created by West End Games for the game system, and it gets us another ship out there. I could also see some of these being used out in the picket line, um, not in the out on the fringe of like a picket line or something, to maybe help take care of some of these other invading ships into a fleet or whatever. Maybe 4 of them are out there or something like that to kind of go back and forth. Because I know that we're going to hit some of this stuff as well. And, when they look at the composition of an Imperial fleet, you're going to have between 1 and 3 Star Destroyers, and then you're going to have a fan array of different vessels out there. So, unlike what we typically see in the movies, it's going to look more like what we see in a modern Navy aircraft carrier uh, fleet. You're going to have, in here maybe 3 Star Destroyers, maybe just 1 or 2, but then you're going to have other support ships, whether you're going to need some other fighter carriers, some other kind of more ship to ship combat style ships, whether they're frigates or battleships or whatever else. And then you're going to have some smaller ships to help take care of, some of the other pirates, or if they're being called off on something, they can break away and they can take care of something else and then come back, stuff like that. So um, it's interesting to see that West End Games, when they were creating all this stuff, they had thought of all these different things. They were looking at how our military is today, what we had. George Lucas envisioned Star Wars really being World War II in space in a lot of regards. So, including when you're seeing the TIE fighters going by the Millennium Falcon, he literally took aerial footage from World War II of uh, Messerschmitts flying by, say, like B-17s and stuff like that, so you could get that same pacing of what it's like to have a fighter craft going by a bigger ship, kind of like a bomber or whatever. In our case, it was the Millennium Falcon in Episode 4. So we really get that same feel. So to open this up, like what West End Games had done, going in different directions, trying to help people come up with their own stories. That's the beautiful thing about role playing games. And I'm sure I'm probably preaching to the choir. It's your story. Make it your own silliness, or however seriousness you want to get into it. At the end of the day, this is all nice science fantasy, and it's all something that we can gather around and share our thoughts and our feelings and our love and our joy about it. And hopefully that's something that I do bring to this, because at the end of the day, I do and always will love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. Buck Rogers. I love all the science fiction for the possibilities of what could be. Um, so often we see the world as being a beaten down, downtrodden, dystopian type world, and things look doom and gloom. And Star Wars is during a wartime. But what can happen, like in Star Trek, or even after the war, when people are starting to feel better and they don't feel downtrodden as much, or maybe you're helping to alleviate some of that. Um, this to me is very much of, I'll say it as my parents would gather around a table and play cards and laugh and joke and say, hey, how you doing or whatever. This was my way of getting together with the guys, and we still do this today. It's a fun way of getting together, spinning a little tale, but on the other hand, it's really about us getting together as guys, um, and just being there for one another. So, hope you enjoy this series. It's wonderful to bring this stuff to you, to the people that don't typically see this. For those that do and just want to hear somebody else's take on it, that's why we do this. Um, Hopefully, it brings a smile to your face. Hope you enjoy this. We'll see you in the next video.